Today I'm going to tell you the story about how Riding with Private Malone got recorded and became a hit song by David Ball. Wood Newton and I wrote the song Riding with Private Malone after we met on a radio show called Opry Star Spotlight. We got together in February of 2001 and I ran the idea by him. He loved it, and it took us most of February and March getting together to write the song. I think we got together maybe 4 or 5 times. Now at the time, Wood Newton was producing country artist David Ball, and he had had a big hit with a song called Thinking Problem back in the 90s. When we finished Private Malone, I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we went back on Opry Star Spotlight and debuted this song that we wrote because we met on their show? And maybe you could invite David to come along since he was there when we met. So on March 23rd, 2001, Wood Newton, David Ball, and myself went on the Opry Star Spotlight, which was hosted by Matthew Gillen. And I debuted the song for everybody. We hadn't even recorded it yet. I remember playing the song that night in the WSM studios, which incidentally are in the Magnolia lobby of the Opryland Hotel, which is now called the Gaylord Opryland Resort, where I was working at the time as an audiovisual technician. But I played it that night, and as soon as I hit that last chord, there was a moment of silence, and then the room just exploded with applause, and everybody just flipped out, and Matthew said, we're going to commercial, we'll be right back. He shut it down and he said, oh my God, where did that song come from? And we knew right then that we really had something special. Now I had been playing the song for friends and at little get-togethers and at a couple of gigs, and every time I played that song, people just flipped out. The reaction was so strong. Now at this point I'd written a bunch of songs, but I had never had that kind of a strong reaction to anything I'd written ever. So the next day after the show, I talked to Wood on the phone, and he said, you know, David really likes the song and I think he wants to record it, but you know, we're kind of out of money for this project. This record, Amigo, is pretty much done and in the can, and we can't really justify going into the studio and spending that kind of money it takes just to record one song. So it'll probably have to wait till the next record. Typically, it's, you know, usually a year or two between records, so I thought, man, who knows when he's going to record this song and put it out. So I said, well, if he doesn't want to put it on this record, maybe we should do a demo recording and start pitching it around to some other people. It's kind of funny, I ran the song by the guy that was letting me use the office to write in, and he said, you know, I think this is a pretty good song, but I think somebody would have known that car was in the barn, you know, before 30 years went by, and somebody would have probably already came and bought it, so I don't know if that's believable. As it turns out, that didn't matter. So we decided to go in and do like a guitar vocal of the song so we could save money. And Wood said, meet me in my studio, and he said, we'll just have David sing it since he likes it. So David came in, and we did a little guitar vocal, and he put some bass on it, and he sang the song. And I brought a lyric sheet in, and he said, I don't need it. He said, I know this song by heart already. And as we were mixing it, David said, what do I got to do to put this song on hold? And I said, what do you mean, for your next record, who knows when? He said, no, for Amigo, for the record I'm working on right now. I said, yeah, sure, you can hold it. When are you going to record it? He said, well, I don't know, but I think we need to add it to the record. Now at this time, I had lost my publishing deal, and I was just writing in the basement of my former publisher, and I was working at the Opryland Hotel and Convention Center during the day and just, you know, trying to get something going on. So I started taking some meetings, and one of the meetings I remember was at the office of Harlan Howard. Now Harlan is a legendary writer. He wrote Tiger by the Tail. I mean, he's had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. He wrote songs for Patsy Cline, Patti Loveless. I mean, he had a long career. So I was there at Harlan Howard Music to meet with his wife Melanie, and everybody told me, she's pretty tough, man. She's probably going to be kind of mean to you. And I had not met Harlan at this point. So I'm in there playing songs for Melanie when who should walk in the door but the legend, Harlan Howard himself. Melanie introduced me and she said, if you could play Harlan one song, what song would you want him to hear? And I said, well, I want him to hear that Private Malone song I just played for you. She said, well, that song's pretty good, but I want him to hear this other song. And it was a song about in the cards, or something about, you know, stuff you wrote in greeting cards to your girlfriend. I don't even remember the song now. I just remember the title. Anyway, so he listened to that song and he kind of went, okay. Song finished. He goes, now play me the song that he wanted me to hear. So I played him my little rough work tape recording of Private Malone. He said, I'll tell you what, kid, I want to make you a deal. I want this song for 30 days, and I'm going to run with it. I'm only going to pitch it to maybe 6 people, and they're all either major artists or heads of labels. So what's the story with this song? I said, well, as it happens, Wood Newton has scheduled a special recording session tomorrow so that David Ball can record it and put it on his record. And they said, tell him he can't have it and we'll run with it. But I'm not going to do anything until you call me back. Now at the time, David Ball was on a small independent label. Now what that means is that small independent labels, they don't have the resources, they don't have the money. It takes a lot of money to promote a song and make it a hit. When a guy like Toby Keith has a song on the radio, I mean, the promotion companies, they're spending hundreds of $1,000s a week to keep the spins going and to keep that song being promoted. Now you might say, isn't it illegal to have people pay to get songs on the radio? Well, yeah, but it's kind of how the industry works. Now you can't go, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 if you play my song on your radio station. But you can say, how would you like to send your listeners on a trip to Hawaii on us? So those are the kind of things that happen. So when you've got a little small independent label like David was on, they don't have that kind of budget to be promoting songs. So when I told Harlan and Melanie that David Ball was going to cut it the next day, they said, you know, we like David, but he's on a little small independent label. They don't have the resources to make it a big hit. You might be lucky if you make $500 on that song. So I called up Wood, and Wood said, no, man, David loves this song, and I really feel like he's the one that should do it. So we're going to go ahead and go on with the session tomorrow. Let's go ahead and go for it. So I thought, well, what have I got to lose? If Melanie and Harlan are right, and David put the song out and nothing happens, then we'll just pitch it again, and maybe Harlan can run with it and take it where he was going to go in the first place. So it's the day of the big recording session, and I'm all excited because I've never had anyone that anyone's heard of record one of my songs. So Wood sent me the address, and I went to it. It was in Antioch, Tennessee. And I pull up, and I'm like, this is somebody's house. But in Nashville, a lot of people have recording studios in their basement. No big deal. So I went in, and I'm excited because I'm thinking this is going to be great. A full major record with piano and steel and fiddles and all this stuff. It's going to be great. So I went downstairs, and it was Dan Frizzell's studio, and Dan was engineering. He was running the board, and he had a bass guitar in his lap. So Dan was playing bass. And then we had a drummer named Vince Branco. He was in the spare bedroom in the basement playing the drums. And then we had a guy named Billy Panda playing acoustic. And I was kind of thinking, where's all the other guys? But they said, look, we're going to make it simple. We're going to track it real simply. Just guitar, bass, drums. Billy Panda said, you want me to put some electric guitar on it? So we laid that track down. And I asked Wood, I said, aren't we going to put like fiddles and steel, maybe some piano? I mean, this is kind of going to sound just like a demo. It's only like 4 instruments. He's like, yeah, we'll probably add that stuff later. So while I was really excited that I finally got a cut on somebody's record that people had actually heard of, I was a little bit disappointed leaving the studio that day because I thought, man, this is going to sound like a demo. This is going to sound like it's only got guitar and drums on it and bass, that's it. And we recorded it in Dan's basement. This is no way this is going to be a hit song. So one day I'm working at the Opryland Hotel, and I get a voicemail from a buddy of mine named Mitchell Oglesby. And Mitchell said, hey man, they're playing your song on the radio. And I was like, how could they do that? It wasn't even mixed at this point. At this point we had just recorded it, and but you know, the vocals weren't finished or anything, and I thought, how could they be playing it on the radio? So I went back in the office there at the AV department, turned on WSIX, the big 98 in Nashville, and Carl P. Mayfield was the morning jock at the time, and he's, right as I turn it on, he says, ladies and gentlemen, my friend Wood Newton was in my home this weekend. He gave me this CD of songs, and as you know, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and this morning on the way to work, I was listening to some of his new songs, and I just had to play you this song. It's called Riding with Private Malone. He said, I played it in the 6 o'clock hour, and the phone has been ringing non-stop ever since. He said, I've tried to reach Wood Newton, but He's not answering his phone. We don't know what the story is about this song, but we're going to find out. So I got on the phone there in the AV department at the Opryland Hotel, and I called Carl P. and I said, hey, this is Thom Shepherd. I'm the other writer of the song, and I told him about where it came from and everything, and he said, people really love this song. Now, up until this point, I wasn't sure what to do because I was playing the song out at gigs, I was playing it for friends, and every time someone would go, wow, that's a great song, what are you doing with that? And I'd say, well, David Ball's putting it on his record. Everybody would say, yeah, but he's on a little independent label. They don't have the resources to put out a big hit song. They said, you're crazy to let an artist on an independent label have a song that great. But I thought, I want to keep my word to David. I love David as an artist, and I appreciate Wood as a co-writer, and I thought, man, I feel like that's what we need to do, but am I crazy? Well, I mean, at this time, Garth Brooks was recording his final album before retirement, and I thought, I mean, should we let Harlan Howard run with it? I don't know. And I really didn't know what to do. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm just going to give it to God. And I was like, God, give me a sign. Give me a sign. If David Ball is the guy that's supposed to do this song, then give me a sign. And I'm not kidding you. Within about a day of me doing that is when Carl P. played the song on his radio station. So this was probably around May of 2001 now. And I remember Memorial Day weekend, I was working at the hotel doing my audio-visual job. And my friend KK Wilson from the Opry Star Spotlight called me and she said, hey, we're going to play Private Malone on WSM. What are you doing? I said, I'm at work, but I'm at the hotel. She said, well, Harold Hensley is in the Magnolia lobby in the studio. You should drop by and see him. So I kind of snuck out of the office, went down there with my khaki pants and blue polo shirt and walkie-talkie on my hip. And I knocked on the window, and then Harold said, can I help you? I said, I'm Thom Shepherd. I'm the guy that wrote the song that you're playing right now. He said, come on in, let's do an interview. So I did an interview with him right there on the spot, and was kind of looking over my shoulder hoping that my boss wasn't going to walk by the window, see what I was doing in there. So the song came out on Dual Tone Records in August of 2001, and it was released to country radio, and it was getting lots of great reviews and lots of attention. There was a station in Baltimore, I remember I met the program director. He said, man, I have only done this maybe once, twice in my career. He said, but when I heard Riding with Private Malone, I was sitting at my desk, and as soon as it finished, I picked it up, and I walked down the hallway to the DJ that was on the air, and I said, whatever you're playing next, ditch it. Play this song. 3 weeks after it came out, 9/11 happened. And our song that was about a soldier suddenly became a patriotic song. I mean, there was a huge surge of patriotism, and there was lots of patriotic songs coming out right after 9/11. And our song was one that got played a lot during that time period. And I don't know, if 9/11 hadn't happened, I don't know if we would have gone all the way to number one. But we'll never know. The song ended up going to number one in December of 2001 on the Gavin chart and on the Texas Music Chart. It never went number one on Billboard or R&R, but I'm calling it a number one because Gavin and the Texas Music Chart said it was a number one. And I feel kind of bad because I never did call back Harlan Howard. USA Today did a story on it, and we ended up shooting a music video for the song, which incidentally, I am Private Malone in the video. One of the funny things that happened when we were shooting the video is when David Ball got in the Corvette to take off, we had sort of backed into this little driveway by a shed to let the camera truck go past us. Now, in David's defense, the gearbox in his 66 Corvette is very tight. It's kind of hard to tell. It's, it's a stick shift. It's kind of hard to tell what gear you're in. So, I remember he looked over at me and he said, "Are you ready, Private Malone?" I said, "I'm ready. Let's go." And he let the clutch out and we went backwards. And boom, we hit the shed. He looked at me and said, "Oh my God, get out and go look at it." And I was like, "No, you go look at it." He's like, "No, you go look at it." So I hopped out and I ran around the back, looked at the back fender there, and I was like, "Oh man, I think it's okay." Whew, that was a close one. Oh my gosh. So hopped back in the car and we went on down the road and filming the music video and getting everything done. And a couple hours later, the guy that was there to take care of the car, he's kind of running his hand down the fender there where the gas cap is. He goes, "Oh man, He said, I was kind of hoping that was a spider web, but it was a crack. The car cracked from about the gas cap down to about the wheel well. So David Ball ended up having to pay for that in addition to paying for the video. So incidentally, Wood Newton and David Ball never went back and added anything else to the recording. There's no steel, there's no fiddle, there's no piano. That recording of Riding with Private Malone is just guitar, electric guitar, drums, and bass. And then Wood and David put some harmonies on it. And that is the record you hear on the radio. Recorded in Dan Frizzell's basement in Antioch. Dan, by the way, now has a great big studio called Legends, and we've recorded a lot of stuff there. We recorded some stuff for our Shotgun album there about a year ago. Riding with Private Malone changed my life. It was my first big hit, and it just felt great knowing that it was a song that started out as a song that I didn't think would be a hit. Not that I didn't think it was a good song. I thought it was a great song, but it's almost 5 minutes long. You know, it's a story song. It's not your typical love song. And around that time, you know, country was sounding kind of pop-ish, and this song is very traditional sounding. So it was great. And it also, at this point, the only independent song that had really become a hit was a song called Mrs. Steve and Rudy by a guy named Mark McGuinn. That was the only other independent song that had ever gotten to the top spot on the chart. And I remember saying to Wood, maybe our song will be the next independent song to go #1. And it was. But that song has touched so many people, so many lives, so many folks in the military. Kids love that song. I mean, everybody loves Riding with Private Malone, and I just feel so honored to be able to say I'm the guy that is one of the writers of that song. I've met people over the years that have said, we played that song at my friend's funeral when he was killed in action. I've gotten to play that song all over the world for our military through Armed Forces Entertainment. I've been on 10 of those tours, and I'll go on 10 more if they ask. On one of those Armed Forces tours, we were doing a show in Qatar, and we got done, and this guy came up to me and he said, man, I can't believe you're here. I got to shake your hand. He said, I got to tell you, Riding with Private Malone is the reason I joined the military. And he said, I was from a military family, and I was determined I was not going to join the military, but when I heard your song, it changed my mind. So that's why I'm here. I said, oh, wow, man, thank you. Let's get a picture. So he pulled out his digital camera. We got the picture. I said, all right, let's check it out. Let's make sure we look cool. And he goes, well, I can't really because my screen is messed up. It was all cracked. And I said, well, what happened to your screen? Did you drop your camera?
My beautiful camera, they got almost pierced by a 7.62 by a 39 round from an AK-47. Went through my flak jacket and pierced just enough to touch my LCD screen of my camera.
And where was your camera at the time? Were you holding it?
My camera was not being held. It was being held not by my hand but by my pocket. It was being my right breast pocket, which was basically right here.
So if he hadn't had that camera in his pocket, that bullet would have probably gone on through to his lung or his heart, and he probably wouldn't be with us anymore. I said, man, that's amazing. Remember, you signing up for the military, that was your idea, not mine. But it's amazing to me that a song, that something I created could inspire someone to make a serious life decision like that. It's such an honor. So like I said, the song went #1 in December of 2001. And I remember on November 28th, I was still working at the Opryland Hotel and Convention Center in the audiovisual department when I walked in the office and I said, do I have to give you 2 weeks notice if I quit? And they said, no, I don't, no. I said, okay, well then I'm quitting today. And they said, okay, so today is going to be your last day then. And you're going to be here till the end of the day. And I said, no, I'm going to walk around, tell everybody bye, maybe get a couple more hours in on the clock. And then I'm punching out and I'm gone. And I had no intention of going back to the Opryland Hotel and Convention Center. But about a year later, guess where the award show happens? The ASCAP Awards are held at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, formerly the Opryland Hotel and Convention Center. So I got to go up on the stage and get my nice award and get my picture taken with all the folks from ASCAP. And I remember as I was walking off the stage, I looked back in the back of the room, and up in that little booth, you know, where they have the spotlights and stuff, where all the audiovisual techs work. I looked up there and I saw all my friends in that little booth, and they were all going, yeah! And I held that award up and I was like, I ain't coming back this time. I still love getting to perform Riding with Private Malone every time we do a show. And I've had a lot of folks call it the wrong thing. A lot of people say, you know what your best song is? Saving Private Ryan. You know what your best song is? Saving Sergeant Malone. You know what your best song is? Riding with Private Benjamin. There's a million different variations. I know what they mean. I'm just happy that they like it. Another thing a lot of people have told me about that song is they said, when I heard your song on the radio the first time, I had to pull over. I can't tell you how many people have told me that. And I imagine, you know, a radio DJ coming on and going, how's traffic, Bob? Oh, looking pretty clear. We just played Private Malone and everybody's pulled over on the side of the road. But it is truly such an honor to have written a song like that. And I'm just so proud that it has touched so many lives in a positive way. I got a million more stories I could tell you about Private Malone, but this has gone on long enough. Be sure to check out some of my other videos on my YouTube channel. I have a prequel that I wrote to Private Malone that's called Last Letter Home. I also have a video called Breaking It Down, which is talking about how Wood and I wrote the song Private Malone and why we chose the lines that we chose. There's also a behind the scenes video from the making of the Riding with Private Malone video. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about Riding with Private Malone.